When I was first here in 1969, the pressing issue for me as a secretary was to be part of the community and to feel as though the community of scholars included people who were secretaries, and frankly it didn't. And I did a lot of work trying to union organize secretaries so that we would have a voice. Later, I became involved with a group of women faculty who were organizing at Penn. I criticized them for not working enough with secretaries, and they openly embraced me to be part of what was a burgeoning movement for women's employment rights at the University of Pennsylvania, which turned into an organization called Women for Equal Opportunity at the University of Pennsylvania. I came to Penn to work so that I could go to night school. These women also helped me figure out how I could become a full-time undergraduate, which I did in 1972. And during those years, we were advocating for the creation of a women's studies program because we and the rest of the world were really coming to terms with the lack of opportunity and actually the inequality of women. So it was a very, very exciting time here. There was also a downside and a dark side that involves sexual assault on campus. And in 1973, while I was an undergraduate, there was a terrible gang rape of student nurses, and we decided that we wanted to protest that, and we had a sit-in held College Hall for a number of days. It was the end of the anti-war movement. We wouldn't let men participate with us. We had a very effective sit-in demanding better police service, better security, and along with that, a women's studies program and a women's center. And ultimately, in 1977, I came to be director of the Women's Center and stayed there until 1983. While I was the director of the Women's Center, we had another very dark moment, and that was a gang rape at a fraternity. And I felt an obligation as the women's advocate on campus to call attention to it, and actually to call attention to what I thought was the administration's mishandling of it. And so I was very engaged during those years on a range of issues, from women's studies to equal opportunity to tenure fights, and to making campus safer for women. In many respects, I think the issues in 2013 are a rehash of the issues of 1973. 1973 was, we are now in the 4th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. What's on the table right now is whether or not we're going to be able to sustain that. I don't think we have ever had such serious threats as we currently have. If women can't control their bodies, they can't control their lives. And reproductive rights is the fundamental right upon which all other women's rights rests. I am a feminist, without a doubt. And a feminist for me is a person who believes in equality of all people. And a feminist, as a matter of fact, when I was younger, I used to break the world into women's libbers and feminists. And women's libbers were self-seeking people. They only cared about their own interests. Feminists cared about society. Feminists had, as well as a feminist analysis, also a racial analysis, and understood that if all people aren't equal, then no one can be equal. What I wish for women today is to have some of the fire and anger and energy of the women's movement of 40 years ago. I know that a lot has been accomplished, and I take great pride in that, both from my years at Penn and my time as director of the Women's Law Project, that I've lived through and helped bring about a significant amount of social and legal change for women. But we're not done. We are not done, and I think that we need to get a little more fire in the bellies of women because they're the next leaders. The women that we see on campus today are the people who can lead this country out of the morass it's in now. And I should add the women and progressive men. But I think that there isn't enough fire and there isn't enough energy, and there's a little too much complacency. The Penn Women's Center is a home for many people.